We'd like to welcome you back in relationship to our outreach efforts of making people aware of what's really going on, especially when it comes to issues that are important for our community. We're here now with the Coalition to Save Our Homes, which is an organization that's based here in Irvington. Many of the members are either affected or building strong characteristics in order to make sure that we get a level of understanding as to what we need to do to begin to change the problems that are happening with our home ownership. We're here now, and would you be kind enough to introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is David Hungerford. I'm the chairman of Coalition to Save Our Homes.
My name is Sharon Han. I'm a member of the Coalition to Save Our Homes and a member of POP.
I'm Emery Hall. I am the co-chair of Coalition to Save Our Homes.
Okay. Mr. Hungerford, in many aspects you have been very actively involved in creating community block association input into some of the conditions that are primarily focused on helping to build stronger communities. And that initiative has been very helpful in relationship to trying to build the kinds of resources that are necessary to overcome a lot of obstacles, especially for people in our community. Give us an idea exactly what caused you to get involved with this program.
Well, I should back up a little bit and say that I am also a member of the People's Organization for Progress, and at the time of the general financial crisis of 2008, which pitched us into Great Depression II, which is the actual situation we're in. I started looking into the origins of the housing bubble, and we worked in the form of the POP Committee on Foreclosure, and that gradually matured into the Coalition to Save Our Homes, which includes not only POP but other local organizations like the Irvington branch of the NAACP, the Newark Teachers Association, and so forth. So it was generally a realization that this is a problem that affects everybody, that distressed homeowners have been treated very unjustly. They were swindled by the banks.
Okay.
The bubble was a systematic overvaluation of homes by the banks. Mm-hmm. And it was very typical that a house that really had a true market value of $340,000, of $180,000, let us say, just to pick a number, at the worst of the bubble, it might go for something like $340,000 or $350,000. So there's this huge overvaluation that was induced by the banks.
And it was probably the effort to say that people need to be aware of that and you need to do something about it.
Yes.
Now, Sharon, you are also a member of the People's Organization for Progress. And the People's Organization for Progress, as many of us know, is an awareness advocacy group that has been very engaged in looking at issues, especially that mainstream media don't want to really take part in trying to give a direct relationship of finding the true answer for. But you're also affected by this particular charade. And the fraud as it exists has become something that really gave you a passion to not only represent an interest for others, but to find others that have been affected who need support. Share with us exactly your experience as being part of the organization.
Well, I got involved with I actually joined POP in 2011 because they were protesting for jobs at a living wage, which is part of why the housing bubble crashed as well. Even though the banks sold mortgages and inflated the market, people were still paying these mortgages as long as they had income. Mm-hmm. But when the economy broke down with the job market, people were unable to pay these astronomical mortgage prices, which I fell into because my house was oversold. The market was inflated. And now my property is only worth $45,000 when certain people have paid $180,000. So we need a mortgage principal reduction. So I get involved so I can bring the average citizen to the table and let them know that there is something we can do about this injustice being done to us.
Okay, and really listening to your point of view in terms of the aspects and justifying the role, give us an understanding exactly what really motivated you to be a part of it.
Well, I moved in Irvington about, I believe, fall of 2010. I got involved with some of the community groups, and I hear that I read about and heard about that how Irvington's foreclosure problem is probably the worst in the state in terms of rate of foreclosures as opposed to number of foreclosures. I believe North beats Irvington there, but has the highest rate in the state. And all around the country in the news, you hear about people being foreclosed on, and it's really affecting the economy badly. And I believe this is a problem this is a national problem that I wanted to get involved in, help to solve.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things, Sharon, you did bring up again about the idea of how it's affected you and the reduction of mortgages. Give me a better outline exactly what does this mean and how can it help?
The reduction of a mortgage principal would bring down what you pay for the property. As Dave said, a property that you paid $330,000 for is only worth now today $190,000, so it needs to be brought down. We need to bring it down to what it currently is valued at, which is $190,000, which would help people and help the city and our communities get back on track. But if you're going to continue to go off of the $330,000, which was an inflated markup, we can never get back on track. So a mortgage principal reduction would help many people stay in their homes, and that should be the goal of Irvington Township.
A mortgage principal reduction, right? That's what it's
Yes.
called. A mortgage principal. Now, Mr. Hungerford, one of the things that I really wanted to get an idea of is what legally is there? Is there a legal battle? Is there any legislation that's already been structured that can identify to this mortgage principal reduction?
Not that I know of. One of the things we want is a federal criminal investigation into bank misconduct during the housing bubble. I don't know that it's so actually requires any kind of new legislation, because the fact is that if you take an asset that's worth $190,000 and sell it for $330,000, intentionally misleading the buyer as to the value of the asset, there's a name for that. It's called fraud. And there are criminal penalties for it. So, in this case, we would want a uncompensated write-down of the mortgage by $140,000 because the bank was never entitled to that $140,000. It's an overvaluation. And normally, in cases of criminal prosecution of fraud, the perpetrator of the fraud has to give the money back.
That's right.
So there's that mechanism. Now, there's also at this point a great deal of interest and attention being given to Fannie Mae. Because Fannie Mae was one of the prime actors in the mortgage bubble and holds, between Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which are now under government receivership and managed by the FHA, they hold something like $5 trillion in mortgage contracts. So, Fannie Mae was ordered last year by President Obama to begin writing mortgage principals down. And Edward DeMarco, who was at that point the head of the FHA, just refused to do it, although he's just a bureaucrat. Technically, he doesn't have the power to do that, or to defy the president. And the president is now moving to replace DeMarco with Congressman Mills of North Carolina. So we hope to see that happen, and we hope to see that process, begin on a large scale with Fannie Mae.
We saw an act of development in relationship to doing some outreach awareness in Newark, where there was a hearing on foreclosures, on the whole matter in regard to trying to generate the information that's necessary to create a dialogue. And one of the things that was brought out about was the mortgage fraud issue. The concerns are so important, especially in our community. Looking at what it is that you've already begun to do and noticing the fact that in most cases we have to concentrate on what's going on locally, how do you think that we can prepare ourselves to be part of that mission?
Well, there are many active community organizations in this city that are concerned with this issue, and which Coalition to Save Our Homes has been interacting with. There's Rotary Club, there's the Irvington branch of the NAACP, there's the East Ward Joint Block Association, and others. So there needs to be a united community effort, grassroots effort. Also, of course, we focus on Irvington because, well, it's about the right size for a small group. It's a small city. But, we've reached out to other concerns in Essex County. We've reached out to other organizations in Essex County, like Communities United and so forth. So we see doing, of course, we work all along with the People's Organization for Progress, which actually is the founding organization of the Coalition to Save Our Homes. So we think that a comprehensive grassroots effort is very important, particularly given the fact that distressed homeowners normally feel a great burden, and they're blamed by the media and by the banks, as if the whole situation were their fault.
Give me a specific idea on what priority you think should be focused on in relationship to getting people actively involved.
I think communication it's a persistent communication, staying in touch with people, building relationships. And that's what we're involved in right now. I think that's the best way to do it.
Is there a major concern that people should be falling over backward about?
That people are quite literally having their property stolen from them. I think that is the most important thing. From what I understand, 90%, maybe 95% of the people, they don't even contest the foreclosure. And these people, the lawyers can just go in and present anything and they go through unchallenged. So, I mean, the best thing to do is to stand up for yourself, I believe.
As a base case scenario, Sharon, one of the things that I have been able to admire you about is that in most cases when people have been pushed up against the wall in relationship to the foreclosure debacle and in regard to the situation where they feel that they're being challenged and they can't handle it, they walk away from it. We have a lot of abandoned properties. We have people that have actually left their properties because of fear that they'll get put out. But you stood your ground.
Yes.
Explain to us your situation and how you were able to adequately find this organizational activity to be very helpful in giving you the strength to continue.
Well, People's Organization for Progress first is what's been my backbone, what's been keeping me standing, that to know that people are out there fighting for what is justice, because we live in a world and we yell the law all the time and we yell justice. What gives me the strength to stay there and fight is the fact that I have to fight for my human rights, which is justice. So I'm not going to walk away from my property. I'm going to stay there and I'm going to fight Wells Fargo until we get some type of resolution that benefits both parties.
And thinking about that, it's so important for others to have the same kind of attitude, the courage these individuals have in terms of wanting to raise awareness and bring people to the understanding of how important it is for us to deliver the type of message to the powers that be that we're just not going to take it any longer. It's so important. And their mission is really adequate. The Coalition to Save Our Homes exists to bring homeowners together to end the foreclosure crises. The disaster was caused by the banks. They rigged assessment, fixed prices at falsely high values, lied to home buyers, and perpetrated a multi-trillion-dollar fraud.
Yes.
All the while the government and regulators looked the other way. Instead of prosecution, Wall Street got trillions of dollars in government bailouts while millions of families lost their homes. The way that you're really approaching this is really interesting. For us to be able to have a forum that most people are going to be interested in coming to, by us working together, we can be able to find a solution. What way do you think we can be able to get the masses involved in order to be supportive to our effort?
Well, I think campaigns and protests are very important. We have done many protests in front of banks right here in Irvington and in Newark, and they really don't like it because it exposes the banks as the culprit. You know, it's not the homeowner, it's the bank. We have developed now a case with a distressed homeowner right here in Irvington with a Fannie Mae mortgage who's been getting all kinds of runarounds and abuses in her attempts to get a mortgage mortgage modification. So we're going to develop that campaign. We're going to reach out to other distressed homeowners who done the same sort of thing, because every time somebody goes out there, a distressed homeowner with organized support, it shows the other distressed homeowners that they're not alone and that it's not their fault. So, it's like a long fight. You just got to go toe to toe, and you just got to keep on punching. You got to be very persistent.
Do you have a calendar now in relationship to some of the efforts that you're having, meeting dates, things of that nature?
Well, we meet every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. in the Irvington Public Library. We expect to have the case with the homeowner that I just spoke of. That will be off the ground within the month. All right, let me say I'm confident of that. We are continuing to raise the need. Some of these things you just, are in process and are continually, working, subject to work. We're continuing this campaign of agitation that there's a federal criminal investigation is seriously needed. That's an ongoing task. We have introduced motions with the and had them passed by the City Council of Irvington and of Newark, calling for a moratorium on evictions on foreclosure until such time as mortgage principals are written down. We've gone to the freeholders, to press that those resolutions. They're only advocacy from the municipal bodies, but we went to the freeholders, and they started telling us all the things that they couldn't do rather than talking about what they could do. So we're just going to stay after these various bodies. We don't want to hear anymore what they can't do. So we have to stay after them about what they can do.
So let me understand this now. Irvington was able to pass an ordinance that allowed for a moratorium to stop people from being put out of their homes?
It's an advocacy.
I'm sorry, is it what?
It's an advocacy resolution addressed to the freeholders, because it's the county courts that hear foreclosures, and it's the sheriff who's an elected official of the county. So what we've done is gone to the municipalities to advocate for this move.
I see. And how many municipalities have gotten on board with the objective?
So far, 2, Irvington and Newark.
Okay. And so between those two, they have actually acknowledged the fact that there is a need for the sheriff's department to hold off on forcing people out of their homes, but it still has to be something accepted by the freeholders.
Yes, because it's the county. It's the sheriff is under the county. And by the way, there was an outstanding success in 2011 in Orange, in the case of Susie Johnson, an elderly homeowner whose house had been stolen by Washington Mutual. And so many individuals and organizations heard of that and became so indignant, including POP, brought all kinds of pressure, and were successful in getting the named plaintiff in the case, which was J.P. Morgan Chase. We successfully forced Chase to acknowledge that it had no financial interest in the property, and therefore the
Mortgages?
Not the mortgage. Excuse me, I'm having a senior moment here.
Yeah, we have those often.
Right. Yeah, the eviction. Yeah, the eviction order was suspended and has not been reinstated.
Okay.
That was in 2011.
Now, there are many of us who are fighting hard, and, we are getting into our golden years. As a young man, how do you feel that you can adequately support the participation where it can generate more people who are younger to be a part of this?
Awareness, build awareness of how this actually affects their community. And I think that's really it. It's just really...
So you're all looking for volunteers to be involved with the activities that you're doing, even if they may not be homeowners?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
It affects the entire community. So I believe the entire community should be involved.
What about women and individuals who are definitely trying to survive in our communities? Home ownership is not the only problem that we're having with this whole situation.
That's right. We're also having a job employment situation. So, and they go hand in hand. which creates a community problem. So then it creates a state problem. So we see the number of abandoned properties next door to us. We live in the community. So men, women, and children, this is not a race issue or a religious issue. It's a human rights issue. And we need to stay focused on that and understand that together we can overcome this and we can get justice for all people. But if we don't come together, it's not possible. So yes, we need men, women, children, elders. Everyone should be out because this is your community.
Well, we want to make sure that we acknowledge the fact that We Care Partners is going to be supportive to the Coalition to Save Our Homes in their effort to raise awareness around not only just the fraud in the mortgages, but how it affects the community. The Rebuilding Our Village mission this year is adequately one of the projects that's going to be important about this. You don't have to be a homeowner to be involved. They're looking for individuals to be part of their volunteer effort. We certainly would like for you to contact them at your earliest convenience. Why don't you give us a number so that people can know how to talk to you, get more information?
Yes, 973-951-6685. Again, that's 973-951-6685.
And what we want to do is ensure that anyone who has information and would like to talk to us, We Care Partners, you can contact us at 973-847-1983, or you can be able to email us at info@wecarepartners.com. I want to make a commitment on air that we want to be a part of being able to challenge an opportunity to give you the vehicle in terms of your outreach communications. And maybe once a month we'll do an interview and find out where you are and what's the progress going on in this mission. Okay, is that agree?
That's great.
Well, thank you very much for
Good
coming
deal.
on board, and we appreciate you for tuning in. Have a good day.
Thank you, Herb.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.